So, I have a confession to make. I'm ashamed to say that I'd never heard this song until a few months ago. But I've been asking around and everyone I asked said the same thing. Wow, that's awesome. But they'd never heard it. The song I'm talking about is Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley by Robert Palmer.
Sneakin' Sally through the alley.
So, yes, that's Robert Addicted to Love Palmer, who was actually born in my hometown in West Yorkshire. He's most well known for Addicted to Love, but he actually had a long, varied career starting out in Vinegar Joe with Elkie Brooks in the early 70s before having a bunch of hits as a solo artist like Simply Irresistible, Bad Case of Loving You, Every Kind of People, and I Didn't Mean to Turn You On. And here's the thing, the Robert Palmer catalogue has some badass bass lines. Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley is from 1974 and features the Meters and Lowell George as the backing band. So, yes, that's funk legend George Porter Jr. on bass. No surprise this thing grooves so hard. So, let's listen to that main bass line and then I'll break it down for you. As always, the track is over at the Talking Bass website for you to use as a play-along. So we're in B, working around a B7 tonality, and we start on a B at the 7th fret of the E string. So we've just got those two 16th notes in there. So, 1 E and so. Play it again, and then we jump up to the B at the 9th fret of the D string. Then we got that A at the 7th fret of the D string. And then we got that repeat on the B there at the 9th fret. So. Then we jump to the E, 7th fret of the A string, then the D, 5th fret of the A string, half note on each, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we've got this cool fill kind of thing. So we've got E and then down to the B, so both on the 9th fret, G string, then D string, then D to the D sharp, 7th to the 8th fret there on the G string, so. And then back to the B, 9th fret of the D string. Played twice. And then we finish with. So that's the A down to the F sharp. So 7th fret D string, 9th fret on the A string. Then just a hammer on from the A to the B, 7th to the 9th fret on that D string again. And then we're back down to that B again, and we start all over again. So very slowly. Now, just as a quick aside, if you're interested in learning how to create bass lines like this and how to jam with a band, creating funky bass riffs, fills, and even solos on the fly, then check out the new Creative Bassist course over at TalkingBass. It's 100 lessons spread over 6 modules and takes you from creating the most simple of bass riffs over a drum beat or from a chord chart and works up to advanced fills and solos played over the entire fretboard. There's a link in the description below if you want more information, and you can use the coupon code CREATIVEOFFER25 for a 25% discount. So check it out, and now back to the lesson. Now, in terms of the technique here, it's all pretty straightforward. We've got that. The fingering, it doesn't really matter that much, but when we get that little quick line, we need to think a little bit more about the fretting hand. So here we can use joint barring with the 3rd finger across the G and D strings at the 9th fret. So we're just shifting the pressure from the G string to the D string and back. So if you just get used to shifting that across. You don't want this. We're shifting by rocking the finger back and forth with the joint there and the front end of the finger. so that it cuts it off when we move from one note to the next. So I call that joint barring, that's just my name for it, but, everybody does it, so. So, once you can do that, it sets you up nicely with minimal movement to then play the D to the D sharp, that 7th to the 8th fret with the 1st and 2nd fingers, which you can play as a hammer on. So we've got the hammer on there, and then 3rd finger again for the B at the 9th fret of the D string. So. Then you can just use the 1st and 3rd fingers for that ending. And then you back down for the B there, 7th fret of the E string with that 1st finger. Now, in terms of what's actually going on here, the first few bars are obviously just root note outlines of that B7. Then we jump up the octave for a bit of interest, outlining that root and 7th of the chord. So that's that funky minor 7th to root move. Then for that fill, we have a pretty common blues move. So for this, we're playing the 4th of the chord, back to the root, then the minor to major 3rd, then to the root. Now that minor to major 3rd is the really bluesy part of that line. When you're playing around the dominant 7 chord like this, that half-step approach into the major 3rd is always going to sound great, and you can drop down to the root note. Or for another really cool move, you can jump up to the root note. So if you hit maybe up here, that's that really cool minor to major 3rd, and then up or down to the root note. Then at the end of the fill, we just have basic chord tone outlines on the B7 of 7th, down to the 5th, back to the 7th, and the root, and then we're back to the start. So this part of the bass groove is a perfect example of how to work around a dominant 7 chord in creating a cool, funky, bluesy, and melodic line. So try playing away from the track to begin with. Just play along in your own time, slowly, and then build up speed. And then once you have the riff up to speed, then you can try playing with the track over at TalkingBass. Okay, so that's Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley. George Porter Jr. is a bass groove master, and I'll be doing a special lesson devoted to him soon. In the meantime, here's another Meters classic for you to learn in the form of Sissy Strut. It's a must-know bass riff, and probably their most recognisable tune, so go check it out, maybe dig a little deeper into George Porter Jr. if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week.